52. So we have 8 more minutes, Sarvanan. So what I wanted,
Yep.
I think I will introduce, what we will do is we'll introduce and then I will get on to a little bit introduction I will give you about yourself, and then I will hand it over to you. You explain more about yourself, and then we will
Hmm.
get into the topic of the health. How do you change the health story of your health, right? So then
Yeah.
again, I really found some interesting stories like worldwide. What is the how many people die of sugar and the heart attacks and all those kinds of stuff, and
Very
especially
interesting. Hmm.
how do you reduce the chronic diseases? How do you extend your life expectancy, and how do you do this? So we will talk about that one, especially on the
Hmm.
diet program, what you do and how what are the different programs you do, and we will also talk about what are the different diseases can be cured by this, right? And uh, people, what is the type of people approach you and what you have changed there, how you have inspired them and changed their lives, that would be another interesting. And then we will talk about what food to eat and how we need to take care of us in a routine life. And then we will touch upon what is aging factor, right? So you have a lot of stories when we discussed about age, how you can reverse your age too, based on how you can change your health. So we'll talk about I know that you spoke about biohacking, right? That's the word you used.
Yeah.
So, and rest I will leave it to you. If you want to tell, think about the viewers. If anyone is seeing this video, they have to understand how important it is to take care of the health, and what how simple it is to take care of your health too. It's in our hands, right? How we need to do, and what kind of food habits you need to have, what kind of lifestyle you need to, and especially during this COVID depressions, right? I will also touch upon that. How do you overcome those depressions, emotions, and how do you need to balance your time to take some time to be fit, like the exercise, diet habits, and what are the timings we can eat, and how this kind of stuff, routine, what you do in your health programs, that we will do.
Okay. So this 30 minutes is a hard stop, is it, Praveen?
30 to 40 minutes is okay, and if you want to do more, that's okay, we will do, but
No, no, no.
typically I do 30 to 40.
In, no, no, anything, whatever suits the format. But I'm just trying to think that, all this thing, if you have to cover in 30 minutes time, it becomes a bit of a tight fit. So whether we'll be able to cover so much in 30 minutes, I don't know. But whatever we can cover, we'll cover. What do you
Yeah,
say?
we will touch upon basic needs for you for the health, and then
Hmm.
if you want to extend, we'll extend 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but I don't want
No,
to
that's
people
up to
to
you,
get
Praveen.
bored.
No, no, no. No, no, that's up to you. I think whatever you're comfortable with to do, it's your show, and you know how to do this right. I mean, you would have done it many times, no? So
Exactly.
I'm just trying to make a structure of, if all this to be finished in 30 minutes, I tend to talk very fast
Mhm.
uh, in the interviews. So if we talk very slowly, so much of topics we can't cover. So I'll leave it to
No,
you.
we'll do crisp. We
We'll
don't
have it
want
like a
too much
conversation.
story.
I will have it like a conversation. I think that's
No,
fine.
I think that's good with me. Even I want quicker and more information. I want. If I were to be the viewer, I want more information in less time.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Okay. That's good.
so we'll make that happen. I think that should be
Can you just take like about 10 seconds? Just drink some water.
fine. Pardon?
I'll take about 10 seconds for you. I'll just
No,
drink some
no, no,
water.
no problem. Take your time. So you
So
look
what
more
is
young
Mana
than,
TV?
yeah, it's Mana
Sorry?
TV. You look more
What is
young
Mana
than
TV?
on the picture.
I'll picture. No, if you take off my whites, no, you just can't guess my age. I like the whites. I mean, I like the beard, but if you take off my beard, typically I pass off for about 42. I think I should do that. But once we launch our anti-aging program, I should take off my beard so I look that young.
Yeah, I was just reading your story today when you sent that. and it was very
Hmm.
inspiring. Now I will touch upon that story too, because people should feel that when you want to do, when you read your story, there is a story for it, right? Why did you do? So definitely
Sure.
it will be touching.
Fantastic. I just want to check, Praveen, what is Mana TV? Mana is our TV.
Mana TV.
So, yeah. So, what is this? This is being transmitted directly in a TV channel, or is it a
It's a TV
YouTube
channel.
channel?
It's a TV channel. TV5 and Mana TV are together. So
Okay.
TV5, whatever the night shift, right? Night shift of
Hmm.
TV5 is maintained in US.
Night shift of TV5 is?
So daytime you have TV5, whatever the activities happen in India, and
Ah,
in the night we will take the NRI activities. Your night is our day, right?
yeah, I understand. Understand.
Okay. And Mana TV is exclusive US. We cover all the programs exclusive only in US.
Okay, and where's the TV channel available? It's available only in the US, is it?
It's in the Yup TV. It is available. If you have Yup TV, it is available. And Mana TV, there is a mobile app. You can see there. You have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
You have a Facebook live. So everywhere it is available. And this will be recorded, and again it will be played occasionally after this show too in the live channel. So when you go to Yup TV, people, and then you open Mana TV, and you can see the programs coming in. All the
Okay.
US channels, US events will be repeated again and again.
Okay. Okay. So if you manage to talk something very interesting, that'll probably get covered. Wondering if I have to lower the light a little bit. One second.
So Lalesh, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
1 minute, I will. Why this change is coming? So I'm ready. I think it's already 11. Let's start, Lalesh.
Yes, sir. Ready, sir.
Ready?
Yep.
Countdown, or it is ready?
Count on, count on.
Okay.
Ready, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to TV5 and Mana TV. You are watching Insight with Praveen Puram. So today's our show is basically on change your story on your health, right? So in our busy life in this pandemic, so we are definitely struggling with our work life balance, family balance, and also health. So today we have an interesting guest, Mr. Sarvanan Balakrishnan, who is the founder of Amura, and he's also the CEO. Welcome to the show, Sarvanan. How are you today?
Hey, Praveen. Thank you very much. I'm doing fantastic. I'm a night owl. I wake up in the night time, and 10 o'clock in the night is typically my prime time. That's when my prime time starts. So I can't ask for a better time for doing this interview than 9:30 in the night.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for coming on to the show. So I just wanted to explain today what are we going to cover and what is the takeaway from this show. And based on the health, how the health conditions on everyone are struggling with, we thought that we will bring some information how to transform your health. So we will be more talking about how to transform your health, what is a good diet, exercise, and some of the aging factors, how you can keep yourself fit in this show. You can also ask questions after this show, and you can email me on my face. You can email me or put a text on my Facebook so that we can connect to Sarvanan. Sarvanan is always willing to help us to this. So Sarvanan, I would let you introduce more about yourself and what this Amura does, And interestingly, I also found that Amura means, it is like it came from the word Amrut, and the source of immortality. It's very, very interesting name, Sarvanan. Thank you so much for again coming. I would let you introduce yourself.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Praveen. See, I have a very unusual background. I'm an engineer and been interested in a lot of things, done a lot of things in my life. Eventually, it turned out that my final calling took me to healthcare. And this started off with a lot of, I had some health setback in my life, in my family's life, and things like that. And went on a wild goose chase all around the world looking for a solution. My son ended up having, to put it in a nutshell, my son ended up having super high triglycerides when he was just 10 years old. And doctors wanted to put him on statins. Me and my wife felt that that is not the right solution for a child 10 years old. So we both felt that there should be somebody somewhere in the world who should know how to fix this diabetes, this high triglyceride without placing a child on statin. So I started attending international medical conferences. I'm an engineer. I started attending international medical conferences. This was like in 2007, 2008. And back then I used to be the only Indian in those conferences, and I used to be the only non-doctor in those conferences. At the end of the conference, they would give me a certificate saying Dr. Saravanan Balakrishnan. I would give it back to the
Wow.
master and to change it. Fun. But eventually, I came across some very forward-thinking doctors from US, from Germany, and Australia, and all that. And eventually, someone from Australia, I got to work with him very closely. He helped our son get rid of his triglyceride only using nutrition. By then, and I was diabetic. I was also diagnosed as diabetic in 2007. And I, as a free bonus, got my diabetes also reversed by him. This happened in 2008. And ever since, I've been reading a lot of things about, what the medical science, forgotten medical science of using nutrition as medicine. And another forward-thinking, futuristic medical science of extending our life to an extent that our parents have not even thought of. All these are uh, the underground medical science of biohacking, where you can extend the capabilities of your body and mind. I always found all these things very fascinating. Eventually, 3 years ago, I joined a friend of mine who's a medical doctor. He is my co-founder. He manages our patients, and we started Amura. And we wanted to, well, we wanted Amura to be promise of super longevity for the people who go through our program. Super longevity is not what we're selling today. Today, what we are selling is, today what we're offering is, we are helping people to reverse chronic conditions like diabetes, hypertension, etc. But we hope as the technology progresses, we should be able to offer more and more things to people. That is what we are today.
Awesome.
Amura is an online clinic. And as I told you, that we help people reverse quite a few range of chronic diseases, almost about 200 different chronic diseases we address. That's the shortest of the version that I could get.
What a fascinating story, Sarvanan. I always feel that when people have a problem for themselves and they put their problem to others, that any of the work what you do will be successful. And similarly, I meet the people like you. Yesterday, I was also talking to one of the delivery or software manager or a leader who has been into transformed into a leadership training. So it is two different aspects, and the same philosophy. He also read so many things and he came. And today I'm speaking to you as an engineer. You are transformed into a complete different line of business, that is health. That is very, very interesting. And I wanted to tell to the viewers too, and I have also benefited myself. I think I have lost 28 pounds in record time, 40 days. That made me to bring you onto the show. And already I inspired 10 people to my count.
Wow.
10 people, I don't know, many will reach you in future seeing this show and seeing my transformation on the Facebook. And this is the way I want to help to the community to become healthy. And
we are so
Saravanan,
lucky that Praveen.
Yeah. So basically, I wanted to also request everyone so to utilize this opportunity, the pandemic time. You have a lot of time to take care of your health, focus on your diet and all. So what is your, see, today we have a lot of things like keto diet, you have a number of diets. So personally, I'm also confused. So finally, one of my good friend introduced you there without any research. I came and I joined your online clinic, and today I see the results, right? So tell our viewers, what is the difference from apart from the other diets? It may be intermittent fasting, it may be keto diet, or whatever the diet. How are you different? Personally, I am happy with your diet, but again, I want to listen from you to the viewers.
Yeah, definitely. See, we have a lot of unconventional ways, and uh, we are not unconventional just because we want to be unconventional. I tell you, let me start with this. The entire diet program, the entire world believes that food is medicine. That is something that we've been given from what's Hippocrates. We've been given this from the Greeks, that we all believe that food is medicine, and we always keep thinking, what should I add to my diet so my diabetes goes away? What should I add to my diet so that my hypertension goes away? But we realize out of our own practice and the research that we have done, a lot of things that we do are based on science. But since we are dealing with large number of patients and then we approach this very, very systematically, we collect a lot of insights, data insights that defy the convention. What we find is the question is not about what you can add to your diet. The question is what you must remove from your diet. That is question number one that all of us should ask. Food we find is not medicine. Food we find is the first poison.
Wow.
So what do I mean by that is the first thing that gets an opportunity to destroy your health is going into your mouth 3, 4, 5 times every day, day after day. Like what 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 times you have been putting something in your mouth from the time you're born. And in case if they have some potential to cause you harm, they definitely will. Over a period of time, they accumulate. So the first thing that we believe is food is the first poison. So when everyone comes, the poison is not the same for everyone, right? Somebody who might eat wheat, for example, could be very comfortable for them, and for someone else, wheat would be a poison. For most of the people, rice is a good food, but there are always, we come across people for whom rice is allergic. They can't eat rice. And there are people who can't eat papaya. Papaya is considered to be very, very good fruit. And there are people who cannot eat a whole lot of things, spinach and things like that. So the poison varies from person to person. The first thing that we do when people come to our clinic is to find out, over a period of 2 months' time, we systematically work with them to find out what food items don't agree with their constitution and remove it. That alone makes tremendous amount of change, Praveen. If I want to leave your readers with one tip, it is that find out the food item that do not agree with your constitution and remove it mercilessly. It is not difficult. You just got to be methodical. How we do? There is something called elimination diet. If you go to Google, look for elimination diet, they'll tell you. What you need to do is you need to methodically eat one food item every day, every day, every day, every day, not mix and match. At the end of 1.5 to 3 months time, you would have attempted all the food items that you have, that you usually consume. And in that, you would know that these are good, these are bad, that kind of a thing you'll be able to pick up. Plenty of information is available on elimination diet on the internet. So identify food items that are bad for you and remove it. That is something that our attitude that food is medicine, food is the first poison, is the first way we are different. And the second way that we are different is there should be a common knowledge everywhere. Unfortunately, it's also not. There is a condition called insulin resistance. Now, insulin resistance is a condition, where you become insulin resistant. Then after some time, insulin resistance becomes pre-diabetes, and after some time, pre-diabetes becomes diabetes. Now, some of the people from insulin resistance, they take a different route. They get pre-hypertension, and then they get hypertension, full-blown hypertension. So insulin resistance is the reason for high cholesterol, hypertension, diabetes, and also somebody with insulin resistance have about 20-25 times higher chances of getting cancer. Insulin resistance also increases the chance of getting Alzheimer. It creates a whole lot of problems, right? All modern problems that we are talking about, most of them, they boil down to insulin resistance. 90% of the adult population all over the world today is insulin resistant. Okay? 90% of the adult population today, If you look at kids who are just out of the college, people in their 20s, anywhere between 20s and 25, 30, more than 40% of these people are insulin resistant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you become insulin resistant for a simple reason, just because you eat too much.
Exactly.
So the amount of food that we are eating, see, this is a funny irony, you look at environmental damages and this and that and all that, we run into Amazon forest, destroy the forest in order to cultivate more things. On the other hand, there are UN is about how we are facing food scarcity in few years time. We are not going to have enough food to feed the population when the population increases and all. But we are all eating at least 30% more food than what is healthy for us. Okay, so we are actually, on one hand, eating ourselves to death. On the other hand, the entire civilization is hurtling towards hunger. It's a crazy situation. All we got to do is, you got a lot of money that is being put into agriculture because we are facing hunger. And then there is another and environmental thing. There is another crisis, and yet another crisis is healthcare crisis. All of them will be substantially dealt with if we start eating much lesser. You can't change the entire world, but you can change yourself if you're the listener. So that is second thing that I would like to tell people. Identify the food item that you can't eat. One. Number two is bring down the amount of food that you're eating. That's what people do with intermittent fasting, right? They skip breakfast. Once they skip breakfast, then the amount of calorie that you're taking will come down from 2,500 calories to about 1,800 calories or so. That is usually sufficient for you to sustain and keep yourself comfortable. And now that because you don't have to eat breakfast, you get to save some time also. And there are people who don't eat breakfast and don't eat lunch also. You typically get additional 2 hours of productive time. And a lot of us who live busy life, that is a godsend. So these are two things that I can leave with your visitor, leave for your visitors, Praveen. Very easy to implement. Eat much less than what you're eating. That is sufficient. Don't be scared. You will not die of hunger. You will be actually feeling much more productive when you're eating less than what you're eating right now. And also, in a world where 90% of the people are sick because of their overfeeding, 90% of the people are fatter than what they should be. Now, people like Praveen and myself who are thin, we do look malnourished, but actually this is the healthy standard, and that is what you should be desiring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you said some interesting facts. 30% we eat more, right? And also there is a wastage.
Approximately.
Even we waste a lot of food.
And on top of that, there's a wastage. Yeah, fantastic.
Wastage.
Yeah.
So this is altogether another topic where you can really feed the public who do not have sufficient funds or something. That's a really interesting story what you have told me. So now people, once I get into your program and see the diet, what we eat in a very small chunk, and also eat healthy food, and what will happen next? How do you manage afterwards? After you are, let's say my goal is to reduce some weight and reverse my BP or reverse my diabetic or whatever it is. Then what will be next?
Yeah. So it's like this, no? If you are overweight, which I told you 90% of the people are overweight, 90% of the people are insulin resistant. That means 90% of people are carrying more weight. When you carry a lot of weight, you become insulin resistant. And insulin resistance also leads to PCOD. That is something that I forgot to say. PCOD also is a manifestation of insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a funny thing. What it does is it increases a male hormone in women. So women become more like men. And in men, it increases a female hormone. So men become more like, they lose virility and things like that, right? So I would say that insulin resistance in an ironical way, that is an equalizer. And it messes up with the reproductive system, right? In both female reproductive system and male reproductive system, it messes up. That's a whole lot of other things. It's just not worth it. Okay, anyway, that's my favorite villain. To answer your question, while you are peeling off the excess weight that you have accumulated, you go through a particular phase in which you need to produce a lot of negative calorie. You need to introduce a lot of calorie deficit, and you need to be mindful of various things. That's sort of very bit complex thing. So once you reduce your weight and bring it down to a point where you're not insulin resistant, then at that point in time, all you got to do is eat about 2/3 of what is considered to be a basal metabolic rate.
Mhm.
2/3 is very approximate. And then you don't have to be very strict about it. Two things you need to do. One is that you try and compress the feeding window, which is what is intermittent fasting. That's sort of become very popular. And second thing is you reduce the total amount of food that you are eating to about 2/3 of what you're eating. And if it is too less, your body will say it's too less. You can go back and eat it. And also try and reduce the amount of carbohydrate that you're taking as much as
Mhm.
possible. That's the third thing that needs to be done. So the thing that we don't know about carbohydrate is that, see, there are three types of macronutrients. The nutrients from which you get the food are called macronutrients. Energy is called or macronutrients. The fat is a macronutrient, protein is a macronutrient, and the carbohydrate is a macronutrient. There are something called essential fats. So what does it mean is that essential fat cannot be made by the body. You need to necessarily consume it. So you need to
Okay.
eat that. Otherwise, body will become deficient. Body needs it, but body cannot make it. That is called an essential fat. You need to consume it. Then there are something called essential amino acids. Amino acids are building blocks of protein. So these amino acids, body need this amino acid, but body cannot produce it. So you need to necessarily eat it. If you don't eat it, you'll become deficient. There are no essential carbohydrates. Whatever carbohydrate that body needs, it can produce it internally. The only carbohydrate body needs is glucose.
Mhm.
And liver can produce all the glucose you need and more.
Okay.
So you do not need to eat carbohydrate to survive. Carbohydrate has got certain advantages. Advantage number one is that most of the it's all animal source food items will have fat and protein. They won't have carbohydrate. So
Mhm.
if you're a vegetarian, you are a vegan, you'll have to necessarily eat carbohydrate, right? So that could be for your ethical reason, it could be for your religious reason, it could be for a traditional reason, or it could be for whatever belief that you have. So that's first advantage of carbohydrate. And the second advantage of carbohydrate is some small subset of people cannot handle animal products, cannot eat animal products, right? This is very common in South Asia.
Mhm.
We do not have enough stomach acid to digest protein. So a lot of us can't handle animal products as well as Caucasians can handle it. So that's the second advantage of carbohydrate. The third advantage of carbohydrate is that it is cheap. And because it's cheap, we tend to find it everywhere. And the fourth advantage of carbohydrate that it has enormously long shelf life
Okay.
with relatively small amount of processing. You can take a bag of paddy and then you can leave it there for a year or two. Nothing will happen. But you cannot take a bowl of butter and leave it for even a week without putting it in the fridge or processing it, stabilizing, so on and so forth. Or protein, or animal meat, anything, right? So the animal source food items, which are essentially protein and fat, they can't be stored for a long time, and you need cold chain, this, that, and all that for transporting. So that further increases the cost. Um, and there is another spin-off from the fact that carbohydrate has a long shelf life. The spin-off is because these products have long shelf life, you can make it in one part of the world and then you can distribute it all over.
Exactly.
So carbohydrate is the staple on which billion-dollar food companies run.
Mhm.
Billion-dollar food companies cannot build themselves on top of, if you look at who makes meat industry, there is no Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola in meat industry. Dairy, yeah, the entire country, Netherlands makes dairy, but who's that? Is there a large company which makes dairy? No, there is no large company which does it. That is the very nature of food items. So all food politics, all dirty food politics, vested interests, everything comes, I wouldn't say everything, that is too much of a blanket thing. Most of it comes from business that sells carbohydrate rich diet. That's another reason why we keep eating so much. And funnily, the current vegan movement is started as a religious movement by Seventh day Adventists in Australia.
Mhm.
And so there is so much of vested interest in the food politics, Praveen. It's a minefield to find out what is actually the correct wisdom and what is incorrect wisdom. See, there you have so much of wrong information that has come from hereditary. I mean, that's come from our history, and there's so much of wrong information that's come from scientific findings. There is so much of wrong information planted by the vested interest. it's a mess out there. Sorry. Where were we?
We were talking about food items. Yeah, I will definitely. You spoke about insulin resistant, right? As
Yeah.
an individual, how do I ensure my insulin resistant is correct or not? Is there any way we can judge?
Yeah. Actually, it's very easy to find out if you're insulin resistant or not. See, I need to tell you what insulin resistance also is a very, very useful information. If somebody wants to carry one scientific information from this talk is that, and your doctor is not going to tell you this. This is scientific. This is you have papers. Unfortunately, you don't get this information. So what typically happens is we are all programmed to eat more than what we need for the next 4 hours, right? So I eat today and I know that I'm going to get my food in the 4 hours time. But then we're all programmed to eat as much as we can on every diet that we do, because for hundreds of millions of years, all of us, our animals, our ancestors, every one of us, we never knew where the next meal would come from. So whenever we got a meal, we went out to hunt, we went out to forage. Whenever we got a meal, we ate as much as we wanted. And the excess food was converted as fat and stored. When we were hungry, the body dipped into the fat reserves and it used it. When we hit a famine, body dipped into the fat reserve and used it. When it became winter and there was no food available, body dipped into the fat reserves and used it, right? This mechanism worked very well. Till this time, about 50 years ago, we all became super good at beating nature and we bet hunger forever. So nowadays, our body never gets into taking money out of taking the fat out of the fixed deposit, right? And we never get to use the fat. So we always keep putting money in the fixed deposit. At one point in time, the vault in which we put everything, it starts overflowing. So what it means is, at one point in time, you keep putting your fat, excess fuel into the fat cell. At one point in time, the fat cell becomes full. The moment the fat cell becomes full, I'm just dramatizing this, right? For us to understand this easier. The moment your fat cells become full, the next meal that you're going to have, the excess fuel in the next meal, it doesn't have a place to go and sit. When it doesn't have a place to go and sit, the fuel in the next meal is left stranded in the blood.
Okay.
So we have two types of fuel, like you have diesel and petrol for the vehicle. You have fatty acid, that is one type of fuel, and then you have you have carbohydrate, that's another type of fuel. Let's say fatty acid is like diesel and carbohydrate is like petrol. So if you have too much of fatty acid left in your blood, we call it high cholesterol. If you have too much of carbohydrate left in the blood, we call it diabetes, right? These are definition of the diseases. But what happens with insulin resistance is, when there is too much of carbohydrate or glucose in the blood, body starts to panic.
Okay.
Because glucose, when it is sitting in the blood vessels, it can stick to the proteins and destroy the protein molecules. The word for it is glycation. Like how when oxygen mixes up with carbon, it can destroy the oxygen by creating carbon dioxide. When glucose mixed with protein, it changes the molecule. Our body is made of a lot of protein molecules. It changes the molecule. The molecule cannot do the job anymore. Whatever its intended job, the molecule can't do anymore. So this process is called glycation. And glycation is the reason why you get all the diabetic complications, right? The protein in the kidneys and the eyes and all are destroyed. So with diabetes over a period of 10, 15 years, time, we end up with all this complication. Body doesn't want this complication. So what the body does is, it sends out a hormone called insulin. So whenever there is rise of glucose in the body, in the blood, body also sends out a hormone called insulin. Insulin's job is to go to each other cell, knock on the door and say, hey, I got this glucose. Why don't you guys open the door, take it and put it inside? And normally this functions well. Insulin comes and gives a command and cells open the door, take out the glucose, put it inside. And insulin goes to the next one, yeah, it goes on. But then if the cells are already full of glucose, then what happens is, when insulin comes and knocks on the door, the cell says, hey, I don't want any more glucose, I'm already full. So insulin gives the command and the glucose resists the command given to them. The cells are resisting the command given to them by the insulin hormone. So this is called insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is a condition where the cells have become full, right? And then what the body does is, to compensate for it, it produces even more insulin, right? And all that. So if you know that insulin resistance is a condition which says that your fat cells are full, right? Some people have very few amount of fat cells in their body, like myself. I have very little fat cells in my body. Some people, like sumo wrestlers, have a lot of fat cell in their body. People who have a lot of fat cell in the body can carry a lot of mass and they will not become insulin resistant. People like myself, even if we carry a little bit of excess fat, we become insulin resistant.
Okay.
Now, body fills up the fat under the skin first.
Mm-hmm.
That is called subcutaneous fat,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's also call it body fat. Then after it is filled, the subcutaneous fat, then it starts filling the fat in the abdomen. That's
Okay.
called visceral fat. After it's finished, after it's sort of filled up the fat in the abdomen, then it starts filling the fat. It doesn't have any other place to put the fat. It'll put in the liver, you'll get fatty liver. It'll put some fat in pancreas, you'll get fatty pancreas. It'll put some fat in the blood itself, and you get cholesterol. These kind of things happen. So the so if you see that you are beginning to grow a tummy, that means that your subcutaneous fat quota is filled up and you are becoming insulin resistant. So the easiest way for you to find out if you are insulin resistant or not is to see if you have a tummy. If you have a tummy, you are insulin resistant. So
Wow.
the way to reverse insulin resistance is lose so much of weight that your tummy goes away. Very simple. Unfortunately, women who have delivered a baby cannot use this thumb rule because their abdominal muscles would be so weak. They can't say, their abdomen would be larger even after they have delivered the baby. Very often this happens. So they can't tell whether it's a loose muscle or it's a fat that is sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
The correct way to find out if somebody is insulin resistant is to go and measure their fasting insulin. If the fasting insulin is about less than 5, they are not insulin resistant. If it's more than 5, it's insulin resistant. That's a thumb rule. And then there is also an insulin resistance index called HOMO-IR. I'll tell you, it's a simple formula. You take the fasting insulin value and then you take a fasting glucose value in milligram per deciliter, multiply these two things and divide by 405. If the number is more than 1, you're insulin resistant. If the number is less than 1, you're insulin sensitive.
Wow. That's so
Okay.
easy.
So yeah, so you just get these things and they'll tell you easily. And these tests are in India, they're like few hundred rupees. I think in US is about $20 test. And if you find you are insulin resistant at quite early time, then you can easily reverse it. In a matter of few weeks, you can reverse it.
Awesome. Awesome, Saravanan. So next topic I would touch upon. Interesting facts is 4 million people die because of their blood sugar control every year.
Exactly.
And 18 million on the heart attack. And basically, if you see our Asian population, especially Indians, are prone for heart attack, right? So, and also they are diabetic these days and hypertension if you are a software engineer. So what would you suggest them, from keeping them in view, what should be their health transformation starting today? If anyone is seeing this interview, I want them to think through what they have to do next.
Yeah. So first thing I want our people to know is that the healthy BMI, there's a BMI which says for this height, you have to have this weight and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The BMI is statistics. So what do I mean by that is that, let's say that if you're an Indian male, you're supposed to be 5'7". If you are a Indian, or 5'6", I think. If you're an Indian female, you are supposed to be average height of 5'1". I have a niece who's like 6 feet tall. So what it means is, while it is true that on an average 5'1" is what you should expect for an Indian woman, there are always Indian women who are short. I think it's 5'2", not sure. There are always Indian women who are shorter than that. There are always Indian women who are taller than that. So that is the nature of statistics, and BMI also is statistics. BMI says that if your BMI is between 20 and 25, you are healthy. But that is not true for everyone. You need to find out if you're insulin resistant, and you need to bring your weight down to a point where you're not insulin resistant. That is the only thing that most of the people who need to do. Even if you're in a sitting job, even if you're not having time to exercise, blah, 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 all that is fine, right? If you do exercise, it's fantastic. If you keep yourself physically fit, that's fantastic. That will add another 10, 15 years to your life. But one thing that you should do is to keep your insulin resistance low. Keep yourself insulin sensitive. That's the only one thing that you need to do: lose weight, remain insulin sensitive. I think that's the only tip that I have for all the software engineers who are sitting there and not doing anything. I should probably not be telling this to the TV. I haven't exercised in the last 3 years. Ever since we started Amara, I stopped going to the gym. I lost all my muscle tone and all that. But interestingly, my HbA1c has gone down, meaning which I become more insulin sensitive now because I've lost a lot of weight in order to adjust for not doing exercise. I've been telling that I should start the exercise very soon, and I've also taken a six-pack challenge with some of my clients. That
Wow.
whoever gets it, there is a friend. He's become a good friend. There is a friend of mine. I told him that if he gets a six-pack first, then I would get him a meeting with Rajinikanth. He's a Rajinikanth fan, and he's also a Silicon Valley entrepreneur. And I told him if I get the six-pack first, he has to get me a meeting with Elon Musk.
Wow.
So we took a challenge. Let's see whether he's working on it. I'm not working on it. Let's see.
I think Rajnikant is easy, maybe, if you know.
Yeah, so
That's
no,
true.
but he's large enough that even Rajnikant will come and meet him. So my job
Awesome.
is going to be easier. But anyway.
Awesome, Sarvana. If I see you, I can make it out how efficiently you're managing your health. And when it comes to me now ensuring that my weight is, I lost weight, and how the comfort I feel, I cannot tell you. So definitely everyone should start practicing this and keep your levels under, and periodically check your vitamins. So that is the next topic I'm going to ask you. Vitamins in our whole life, if you see, if you are you are leaning towards the Western culture and you started checking your health checkup, right, every year. But still, what would be your suggestion to know on the vitals every year a person should check after 40 years?
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll share a list of things. We have a list of about 100 things that we would like our people to check, Praveen. After the call, I can share that.
Okay.
Some of the things that you need to check is, you need to see if we used to check everybody for their vitamin levels. We eventually decided that it's useless to check for vitamin levels because everybody is deficient on vitamins. We came across maybe like 1 in 500 people who had good vitamin levels, right? So we stopped checking vitamin levels for everybody. We know that everyone is going to be vitamin deficient. See, the food that you're eating today is not the same food that people were eating 100 years ago. And 50 years ago, when we were, the food nutritive value and all were designed, that was a different food, different carrot than the carrot that you're eating today. So you're not necessarily having the same vitamin A in the carrot that you get from your supermarket today. All along, food was always optimized for making money for the farmers, right? How beautiful it looks, how much of productivity, right? How large it turns out to be, and how quickly you can grow the food, and how fast they can move on the supermarket. What is how could they extend the shelf life? Nobody ever optimized the food for its nutritive value. Right?
Exactly.
Nobody ever optimized the food for the nutritive value because we were not prepared to pay for the nutritive value of the food. We always wanted glossy looking food. We always wanted cheaper food. We always wanted tastier food. We never go to the shop and say, hey, I want to find a carrot which has got maximum amount of vitamin A. We never did that, right? So obviously there's no incentive for the industry to do that. So we're all vitamin deficient, all kind of vitamin deficient. So you don't even have to do any test. I can tell you right away that you're vitamin deficient. And vitamins are very, very important. Not just vitamins. You have a whole lot of other nutrients. See, if you look at the body is like a self-assembling chemical factory. Or you can think of a house that builds itself, right? So in a house, you have brick and mortar and steel and stone and floor tiles, everything, right? Your pipelines and wires and bulb and all that. So these equivalent of that in your body are the nutrients. Now, if you think of finding a mason to build a beautiful house, you have a lovely blueprint, you give the mason everything, but then you don't give him a door frame at all. What will happen is he would finish building the entire house and there won't be any doors at all in the house, right? So then you won't be able to, the house will be totally dysfunctional because you can't go from one room to other room. Exactly. That is what will happen if you do not have certain key nutrients in the body. So you just got to keep your nutrition high. And I have not, I'm personally convinced that getting nutrients from food is a workable thing when you're young, when your body is all new and it can assimilate the energy well, and you're also eating reasonably clean with organic food and things like that, it's fine. But very rarely, I've just seen one blood report of thousands of people where somebody in their 60s had good vitamin levels.
Wow, 60s.
Yeah, he's about 64. He was about 64. Incidentally, he's from Andhra Pradesh. He's from Hyderabad, and he had excellent vitamin levels. And the very interesting thing about him is that he was exceedingly aware of his body. He had such a fantastic mind-body connection. He could easily impute what is good for his body and eat exactly that. And that has kept him healthy all through his life. He
Awesome.
finds a very interesting thing when we look at the blood report like that. Very often when the husband and wife are very close to each other, their blood reports are almost very similar. Whatever deficiency husband has, the wife also has similar deficiency. So you can look at the blood report and say, okay, this couple are close. And we find a lot of such very interesting things when we see that. Yeah.
So exactly, I think you defined very, very clearly. You compared it to our body, to the house, and how the the chemistry happens in our body as well. So in this ground, so selecting a vitamin when you are taking an external vitamin, so do you think it's safe without any side effects? Because you talked about the vegetables, we don't talk about nutritional vegetables, but we speak about cheaper, we speak about good looking, we speak about early yielding, and you optimize the vegetables as you said. So when you're choosing the vitamins, what would be our caution? What would you really look at?
One thing that you need to be aware of is that at least in the US, a lot of vitamins are spurious products. Even something that you get from supermarkets, there is a lot of counterfeit products in US. This counterfeit has not become so popular in India, but in US it's sort of become very popular. That is something that you need to be watchful of. But other than that, see, it's a very complex science also. I don't think one should, freely go and take whatever vitamins that are available and start self-administering themselves. They can. That is why they are over the counter. But I'm little hesitant to say that, hey, you can do whatever you want, and things like that. Many things. See, we have seen how powerful these things are. What See, we are yet to we are yet to see problem with too much of vitamin in somebody's bodies, right? I'm not able to give you an answer, but I have seen people who have suffered from depression for years together, right? These guys have been antidepressant for years together, again and again and again, unexplained depression, no apparent reason. Life is fantastic, but they are in depression. Give them right nutrients in 2 weeks, they're off. 2 weeks, they're fine. They're good as new.
Mm-hmm.
And magnesium is one such nutrient that can really destroy your mental health if it is deficient. B complex is another thing that has impact on so many activities in the body. Zinc is another thing that has impact on a lot of activities in the body. When these things are, and like this, there are a whole lot of other things, Praveen. When they are deficient, people can land up with a lot of problems. But I'm unable to tell you what kind of precaution that they should take if they are going to self-administer themselves. One I can right away tell you that is that there are a lot of counterfeit products. One need to watch out for it. Mm-hmm. Other than that, in terms of dosage and all, I'm not able to think of anything. Just avoid all fats. Just be very mindful of fat-soluble vitamins. That's all I can tell.
Excellent. The reason I ask you this question, Sarunan, because I recently came across with one of the PhD person who has been researching on the immunity and also the vitamins. So she was just giving an example of B complex. As you said, that B complex is a must. The B family and the C are necessary for the body. She says that you have to take every day. And you should be cognizant about vitamins. For example, she said an example of B complex. If you are taking a good B complex, for example, if you see a B complex, if you take, your urine is yellow, right? Immediately you will see the result. Yeah. But she says it should be like, the body absorbs the B complex and throws away the whatever the waste in that. It should be periodical. It should not be immediate. So that means the body absorption should be good from the vitamins. That's what she said. That's why I asked you the question, because most of us think whatever we get in the shelf, it's good for us. So I don't want to take those on my own, but again, I need to take some assistance.
Yeah, there is a lot of politics on vitamins. See, there are brands in the US which are frightfully expensive. Mm-hmm. And they say that, hey, it's because we are pure. I don't really think that, what do you take with vitamin? You take your, raw vegetables, you take broccoli. What do I take with vitamin? I take my lettuce, raw lettuce. I take raw, broccoli, and what all impurities that go with it. Right? And some of the supermarket brands, we have been eating it for last about 20 years time. We are yet to get cancer. So I hope that's fine. That's supposed to be a joke. Praveen. Yeah.
So I think we have covered pretty much on that. The other topic is age. So
Yes,
if I see you, I can definitely reverse at least 10 or 15 years from what you are, right?
By
So
taking off
is
my
there any
bush.
secret? So what's the
Yeah,
secret?
see, it's like this. See, I tell you what, it's something that I've always been passionate about, right? That delaying aging and reversing aging. We are not at reversing aging. But we are definitely at delaying aging already. We have enough technology to tell us what is to be done. Now, see, body has an internal program that runs. That program we get it from our DNA code, right? And what the program does is, as we are born with, as a helpless infant, right? With every passing year, we become fitter and fitter and fitter. Our fitness increases with every passing year till such time, you become 21, 22, you become a strapping young man or a woman who can go on, participate in Olympic or maybe, do bullfighting, all that kind of stuff, right? If you compare an infant who's just born, neonatal, and then you look at somebody who's that competent, right? All that magic was created by body, right? Everything, the body has a program. It's done all that. It's an achievement that we don't even begin to comprehend. But then those things start shutting down one after other after you cross your reproductive age, typically around 40 or so. No, those programs which were making you, so for about first 25 years, body starts building you up step by step. Then after about 10, 15 years time, it remains constant. Then afterwards, those programs which were making you stronger with time, those things start shutting down one after other. That is the chief driver of aging.
Mm-hmm.
We think that aging is wear and tear. Wear and tear is just one aspect and is not even an important aspect. There is ample evidence to say that we can extend the program for many, many, many more years to come, maybe like 10 times that or so. So if you look at mouse-like animals, right? Same body size as mouse. Most of the animals live for about 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take bat, that can live up to 30 years. But somehow, bat has been able to extend its internal program to live much, much longer. And so your job as a human being who's got the intellect, who are not, who just doesn't have to do whatever the nature has given you. You can go more than, what the nature has given you. What you need to do is to find out the mechanisms in the body that are shutting down and see if we can provide it from outside. There is a whole lot of stuff that is being done on that area, and you will find a lot of longevity clinics in the US, and many of your customers can look at it, and probably even Amara might start doing that in about a year's time or so. Right now we are very busy with helping people to get rid of their metabolic diseases, and then we've also started working with people who have autoimmune conditions, and we are doing that very successfully. And India is not ready for something like longevity science. Nobody comes in the door and say, "Hey, I want to look. I want to at least function younger." So maybe in a year's time we'll start doing that.
Awesome. I think thank you, Saravanan. You have explained very well now. Hopefully, we'll also get in India. And the last question I would ask you is on the hair. Do you have any solutions on the hair so far?
What kind of solution you're talking about? I mean,
the
hair fall or
not losing
hair growth, is it? Not losing hair. Unfortunately, there's not much of solutions available. But I'll get you something in about 6 months' time.
Awesome.
So I told you that we are starting a longevity practice, right? And in 1 or 2 months' time, we'll start putting together the protocols for that. And we will put together the hair protocol first. A lot of people have been asking about hair, and we have not been able to do anything. We can do something very marginal for hair, but that is not what you're asking for. What we can do is, see, there is a vitamin B3. Mm-hmm. It's called niacin. And what niacin does is, it's a horrible vitamin to take. It's harmless, but then it gives you something called niacin flush. And there are B3 which give you flush. There are B3 which doesn't give you flush. You need to get the B3 that gives you flush. So what it means is that, the moment you take it, your skin will become reddish, and then you'll start getting the itchy feeling and all that. It will last for about 1-2 hours time. All this happens because the moment you take B3, it improves the blood circulation. It opens up the capillary blood vessels and increases the blood circulation. Blood starts going to places or the parts of the body where it is not gone till now.
Wow.
And one of the places where blood goes is the scalp. So what happens is, because of the extra circulation, the scalp, the hair follicles get better nourished.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately within 2-3 days time, you'll find that the hair fall reduces substantially. B3, the flush is harmless, but because it is very frightening, we don't recommend it. We don't prescribe it. Personally, whenever I'm occasionally, I feel that a lot of my hair falls and things like that, I take B3. That is the thing that really helps. And of course, other than that, people take biotin. Personally, I have not found biotin very effective. Then, of course, there are home remedies about, my wife has this preparation with, Ayurvedic preparation that she swears by. She has a very nice hair. But typically, Amura style, 100% effective solution. Give us about 6 months time, I'll give you something.
We'll wait for that, Saravanan. And also we'll be in touch with your wife to get that oil or whatever the natural remedy you have. So we will try out it. And before we close the show, Saravanan, I wanted to ask, what kind of diseases are the chronic diseases are from Amura, you can confidently say that we can reverse it so far?
Yeah, I can tell you. All the metabolic conditions we can deal with. Metabolic syndrome conditions, which are your hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, right? And then you have PCOD, then you have then sleep apnea, and to an extent GRD. These are things, right? Some people get GRD because of excess weight. We can reverse it, right? And getting people to lose weight. Getting people to lose weight, we do phenomenally good job. I am not aware of any other clinic which is as effective as what we're doing. And we in fact have some doctors who are in our program who want to lose weight. Doctors who specialize in weight loss program, they are in our program, asking us to help them lose weight. And so these are the things these are all metabolic diseases. These are diseases of eating too much of food, right? So we are very effective in working on these things. One. And number two is certain amount of mental health issues like depression and all that, we can deal with them very effectively. We can deal with depression particularly very effectively. Anxiety, we can deal with it reasonably well. So these are two areas that we can do. And autoimmune conditions, whole lot of autoimmune conditions we can deal with effectively. Migraine, we are very successful in dealing with migraine. And leaky gut is another autoimmune, it's a source of autoimmune condition. Leaky gut also, we are very good. We have been very effective in handling. Thyroid deficiency, Hashimoto thyroiditis, we were very good at handling these things also. See, there are 150 autoimmune diseases. We are able to get varying degree of results in each of the 150 autoimmune diseases. Now, some of them we are able to get full remission, some of them we are able to get part remission. Diabetes, hypertension, and all that, we can get full remission in case if it's less than 10 years old. But in case if the disease has been there for more than 10 years, we may not be able to get full remission. In some cases, we can get full remission. Some cases, we cannot get full remission. So these are some of the things that we are doing that I can immediately think of. But totally, we deal with like about some 200 different conditions.
Wow. So even if the patients are, if the age limit is like 70, still you can reverse the diabetic? More than 70?
The first patient that we had, see, that's not the issue. The very first patient that we had was my mother, and she was 72. She had diabetes, she had hypertension, and she had rheumatoid arthritis also. We fixed all of that, and that's 3 years ago. Even today, she's quite fine. Age is not a problem. The problem is for how many years they have had this problem. If these problems have stayed there with them for more than 10, 15 years time, we can only get partial remission. If the problems have been there for less than 5 to 10 years time, definitely done deal. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, no questions at all. In about 3-4 weeks time, we can take it off.
Wow. I think probably next step is like I'll also introduce my mother too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would love to. Yeah.
I think one good thing about I could see the results, Saravanan. That's why I'm very confident to host you here. And I'm confidently saying that my doctor was also shocked to see this. And she already started prescribing to the patients whom they ask
She's
her.
meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
she said that she's going to really refer your name. And if you have
Fantastic.
any article, please let me know. There are 80,000 plus doctor association called API. I can recommend
Okay.
because the doctor president is one of my good friends, so I can recommend to host that. And I'm very confident that we can do that. So
Definitely, it'll be our pleasure. See, for the first time, we are bringing something from India. See, usually what happens is the US does all this innovation, and some guy who was working for those companies, somebody who worked for Amazon, somebody who worked for Facebook, somebody who worked for this, that, and all these guys say, I'm going to go to India and do a startup. They do that, right? Now, what we are doing is we are contemporary with similar kind of activities that are happening in the US. There are some companies who are doing same thing as what we are doing. We are contemporary with them, and we are iterating quite fast, right? So and we have already substantial, like yourself, we have substantial amount of our business comes from the US. So maybe, we will, instead of getting all this from US to India, maybe, we'll export all of that from India to US. Let's wait and see. A guy can wish.
I wish you great success there, Sarunan.
Thanks a lot.
And we all can help you, because end of the day, helping others in health is nothing else we can help them. That is the greatest help I feel, at least suggesting. So
In
I'm
fact, I
I'm
would
very
say
happy,
something.
I'm very happy.
Praveen, I want to tell you something, right? So, see, I think you're doing a tremendous amount of service. You have seen how easy it is for you to recover your health, right?
Yes,
The reason you have not been able to do is that you did not have the right information. We
exactly.
were able to provide you the right information. We were able to provide right information to one person by spending, let's say, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever that is, right? We've been able to provide the format in which we are disseminating correct information is one person at a time. The format in which you disseminate information to people is typically, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people at any given time, or millions of people at any given time. And I think people like Praveen, people like Mana TV have got tremendous role to play. The world is suffering because they don't have the right information. People are dying because they are eating more than they should eat. They are eating the wrong kind of food. I lost my father to heart attack. My father's father lost his father. My father lost his father to heart attack. Right. The way that I started becoming diabetic when I was just in my 30s, I would have probably had my heart attack, gone the way that my ancestors went, but for the information that I managed to collect. You're doing a tremendous job in bringing this information, Praveen, and I wish you all the very best, much more than, the success that I would see. I think you and people like yourself who carry reliable information to people by the millions. I think
Definitely,
you have
Sarunan.
a tremendous role. Yeah.
I think thank you for that. And the main show for this is only to help people, and it's a giveaway. There is no commercial anything for this show. It's only I want to help people by seeing good people on my show. They have to learn by this end of this show. They have to learn something and go at least one point. That's enough. I'm achieved. So I'm very sure that the way you explained, people might have learned a lot of things from this show. And especially, believe me, when I'm walking on the roads, they are surprised to see me. They are asking all these questions. I'm not, my wife is tired because when I'm walking, people are asking about me, and I'm tired explaining all these things to them. So that's why I thought I'll do a show. At least 100, 200, 500 people will visit for sure. They have already seen, like 500 people have already seen that show is there. At least 10 people, if I would have make a change in their life, that's it. I'm achieved. Apart from my day
Fantastic.
job, I'm doing this as a passion, helping people.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I think it's got a
Thank
big role to play. Yeah, Praveen.
Sure.
Yes, Praveen.
We will
Thanks
have
a lot.
multiple, we will have another sessions as well. I know that your wife is a great nutrition, and when I speak to her, I feel so pleasant. She explains very clearly what we need to eat. If any recipe is not there, she'll create one and give. So that's sort of a pleasant personality, your wife too. Thanks to her, and the doctor Goodwin too. I'll bring them one by one and share their thoughts.
Definitely. I think they deserve, yeah, they deserve to be there. And each one of us have a very different view. My view is more I'm more on the impact of super longevity and things like that, right? I'm more on business. I'm more a business guy, and Anne, as I told you, she's more about implementation, right? What should I eat today? Hey, all this is fine. These are all theory, but how do we actually implement it? She's that, and Dr. Godwin is concerned. He's the medical doctor in the team, so he's a medical brain. So each one of us have a different perspective. Uh,
Thank
yes,
you.
I think.
Thank you, Sarunan, for your time. And any last message
Welcome.
to the viewers before we close the show?
Okay. Okay. Now this is an extremely important message. I already told you several things. If there is one message you got to carry this, right? But if there is only one message you got to carry this, right? Is this. Everyone who is watching this show today is likely to live way past your 100. And you are likely to be physically fitter, whatever is your level of fitness today. You are likely to be physically fitter and mentally more capable by the time you reach 100 than you are today. So if, let's say that you are 50 today, let's say you're 40 today, 50 today, don't plan your life as if you're going to live for next 10 or 20 years time and then you're going to roll over and die. Plan your life as if you're going to live for another 50 years from now. That changes everything about your life. That changes everything. You can sit and think about it for years together. Now, today it might look like, hey, living past 100, what am I talking about? Living past 100 and fitter than where I am today, what am I talking about? Mark my word, before 2025, this will become a common wisdom. This will become a given. Like in 2015, if somebody came and told you, hey, we're going to go to Mars, it's like, hey, what are you talking about? Today, you know that you're going to go to Mars, it's just a matter of time, right? Now I'm telling you that we're all going to live past 100. In 2025, you will say, yeah, we're all going to live past 100. We're just waiting for the technology to come along. That is something that I want to leave you with.
Thank
Praveen,
you.
thanks a lot for
Thank
organizing
you.
this wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much for your time,
It was a
Sarunan.
pleasure talking
And
to you.
we all will really live our life with healthy and with your tips. I wish, and I'm sure that everyone who is watching will think about it and start looking options what we can do better to live happily and healthy, right? So that's
I'd
all.
love
Thank
that.
you again. That's all from this show today. Thank you, viewers, for all your time, and keep watching good shows in the Insight with Praveen Puram, and inspire yourself and adopt good things from this show. Thank you again. Have a